What's up, everybody? It's Soren Baker.
Amir Rahimi.
And today on The Great Debaters, getting into some above the law. Get ready, y'all. Living like hustlers. Alright, Amir, so today on The Great Debaters, we are picking our top 3 tracks from Above the Law's Livin Like Hustlers. Now, this is their debut album. Came out in 1990. Phenomenal songs from start to finish. This album is so amazing. Big Hutch, aka Cold 187, is one of my favorite rapper producers of all time. One of the most influential, best, powerful, insightful, and my friend. So shout out Hutch. And then of course, rest in peace to KMG. Man, that was a sad day. I went to his funeral and was there, and that was I was glad I was able to be there, but it was definitely a sad day. And then shout out to Laylaw, as always. So, Amir, let's get into what your initial thoughts were listening to Livin Like Hustlers.
So this is just right in my lane of when I was listening to like all my earlier stuff with the NWA esque music and just NWA in general. So I bought like the compilations. It was NWA Legacy 1 and NWA Legacy 2, and on one of those compilations it had the last song on it. So that was which is actually surprising. I'm guessing they had that song on it because it featured NWA. That's probably why they chose that one. But after I heard that, I was like, okay, so these guys need to be on my list with all the other people who were on those compilations. So then I was like, all right, so let me get this album. Got this album, I heard it, I was like, okay, nice. This is some good stuff. Cold 187, as someone was saying, is just one of my favorite producers ever. He is just so great, and we'll definitely be talking about their later albums as well. And you'll see like the evolution of from this album to later on. But to stick with this album, when NWA, when Cold 187 and you saw like NWA and like all the videos, is like obviously before Dre left too. Murder Rap, that's one of my picks. And we had talked about this in a few other videos, how we're talking about how when you hear like Dre on production, it's just so forceful. Like Soren said in our DOC video, if it's funky enough, just how forceful that track 1 was. And Murder Rap is even like more forceful.
Right.
And big shout out to Dre, big shout out to Layla, big shout out to Cold 187 for the great production on this album. But Murder Rap, man, I remember hearing that in my truck one day. And my truck, for stock speakers, it's pretty good. And I remember just turning it up really loud, and once that you hear that, and then you hear like the drums, and you just hear everything, and you're like, holy crap. This came out 30 years ago?
Yeah, dude.
This came out 30, are you kidding me right now? If you hear, so check this out, if you listen to that song, and then you keep it on the same volume, you don't adjust the volume, and you listen to any other album from 1990, not any album, but most albums from 1990, they don't sound like this. This is just something else. This is, and Soren said it best, this is 1990 production on steroids. You can't, just put any CD, just pick it and put it in. It's not going to sound like this. It's just crazy. So just production alone, we can make a long video on this album, and particularly this song. Then you get to the video, which is also just super dope. Too, and then Cold 187's rhymes are great on this, and you get KMG talking like in the breaks, and it's just, dude, this song is just freaking incredible. And I'd be surprised if anyone who ranks this album and their favorite songs, if they didn't have this in the top 3. I'd be shocked. But this song is freaking incredible.
It's gotta be, man. And all the things Amir said, I agree with, of course, since some of them were what I had said. But beyond that, the production on here, it's literally astonishing. And I'd interviewed Hutch, Cold 187, so many times, but one time I did for Unique Access, and he was talking about this song was inspired by the Sonics of it with Public Enemy, and of course you can hear that with the Flavor Flav sample and with the Chuck D vocal samples in the song, which just take the song to a whole other level, and of course that's where they get the title of the song from. But Hutch's voice was also one of those things that was very striking because he had more of that high-pitched tone and sound, and that worked so well throughout this album and throughout the Above the Law discography that regardless of what the production sounds like, and some of the songs we're going to discuss, I'm sure, are very strikingly different sonically than Murder Rap, but his voice always matches or fits in it so well, and Murder Rap is a prime example. And just, you know, his style, and it's a amazing piece of work. And it's one of those beats where I would get lost in listening to the beat, and then I'd have to remember that there's even raps on it, which are incredible, but the beat is just so overpowering that it's crazy, man. It's so crazy. So crazy. So that also one of my picks, of course. So what you got for a second pick?
It's like, how do you follow that one up, man? That must have been a task. Like, they had this on the track that you're like, well, shit, it can only go downhill. No, this album is super dope. That song, jeez. So another one of my picks is, as you had mentioned, like some of the sonics are more aggressive and some of them are kind of just very different lane. I'm going to stick to more so kind of in the Murder Rap lane, and that's like Menace to Society. Although it's clearly not as powerful and loud as Murder Rap, I still think it is kind of more in that lane in regards to other songs of the album. So that's a dope one, and on this one you also hear KMG rapping too. With Colon 87 and Menace to Society. I really like the sample they use in here, and I also, before, I had heard Tupac on Tupacalypse Now with his single If My Homie Calls, and I was like, oh, well, they did it first, and I also really like theirs as well. Menace to Society is just like super dope track. And there's just so many songs on here that it made it very tough for me to choose because I feel like it was a pretty consistent album, you know, from song to song. It was very tough for me to basically be like, well, I like this one more than this one. It was very hard. So choosing the tracks on this one, like Menace to Society, I don't want to say the other songs that I wanted to pick, but it was very hard for me to narrow down. Menace to Society, the sonics of it, the rapping with Colon 87 and KMG was great. So I had to pick this one.
All right. Well, I really like every song on this album, so we could pick any of them really, but that's not one of my picks. And the reason why is what I'm about to say for my pick, which is Freedom of Speech, because that one, people, you know, now that we're in 2020, I think a lot of people forget the pressure and the critiques that rap was under around this time in 1989, 1990, and this album came out in the first half of 1990. So they were dealing with the fallout of Fuck the Police. They were dealing with the fallout of the problems that NWA, Ice-T, Schoolie D, 2 Live Crew, there was a lot going on of the censorship things that all those artists I just mentioned and others had to deal with. And for Above the Law to come out on their first album and address the censorship angle, to address racism, to address a lot of the societal ills, but to do it in a way wrapped around the idea that I thought we were in America, where you're supposed to be able to say what you believe and be able to say what you want to say, and to do it thoughtfully and respectfully as Above the Law did on Freedom of Speech, I just thought was great. And it really showed, I think, what we see primarily best illustrated later on Uncle Sam's Curse, Hutch's political mind, and KMG's as well, of course. But I really was just blown away that these guys were coming out with their first album and able to put something like that on there, and especially being from the West Coast, to not being as embroiled in the quote-unquote perception-wise, not reality, but people not looking at the West Coast as being lyrical and deep thinkers and all that, which of course is not true. But for Above the Law to do it right out the gate, always just really stood out to me and really impressed me and showed these dimensions of Above the Law that were going to really expand as we got deeper into their catalog. And Big Hutch kept continuing to put out phenomenal music, both as a producer and solo artist much later, but then throughout the entirety of Above the Law's career, which I think Above the Law is easily one of the best rap groups of all time, and their catalog is remarkably stellar and amazingly consistent. So that's my second pick. What about you? What you got going on to number 3?
So this is one that yeah, like it was hard picking the top 3. Like aside from Murder Rap, which I knew for sure was gonna be there. So here, I was thinking it could go Flow On, it could go, Untouchable. I just didn't know where to go. So here I went with Ballin'. Okay. And Ballin' to me, is just so sonically different than a lot of the album, and it's more of like a happy beat. I also like the whole wild world. Like I like that. I don't know, just this beat, it was just kind of like a breath of fresh air, and kind of like you said too. And I'm really happy you said this because, about Cole 187's voice and just how good he is just at rapping in general. I think Cole 187 on this album, and KMG especially, too, like even later on is when I really started to notice KMG in the later albums, especially. I thought he kills it. But on here, like Cole 187, when I was hearing his voice, I was like, oh yeah, he's really good. And he's also one of my favorite rapper producers. Cole 187. So Ballin' was just another one. I'm like, yeah, this is just a definite hit, and I really like Ballin'. And also to agree with what you were saying about Above the Law being one of the greatest groups ever. You can't see it, but I got Uncle Sam's Curse on the wall. It's just one of the best. Just, dude, when we talk more about Above the Law, you're gonna see just how great they are. And if you haven't heard their music, but you watch our show, please make sure to listen to these albums, man. It's truly special.
Absolutely. And Ballin' is great, and I also like what they did at the end with the whole wide world, flipping that up and everything, which today it's always great when it's a song like that that's not a super famous song per se, but that you can always hear it in your head when you think about it. That just shows you how powerful it is. And my third pick is a different pick, which is the last song. And that is, as somebody that grew up loving all of rap and loving NWA and all the tentacles that sprayed from that, the great thing about the last song, and we see this with Parental Discretion is Advised, we see it with the grand finale, and we see it on the last song, is that NWA wasn't as known for this, but when they do the braggadocio stuff, it's just so great to me, and it's so unusual in a way for them, even though they did do it obviously throughout their catalog, but it wasn't what they were really known for. And I think with those 3 songs that I mentioned, when they're with others and among themselves, they're just pushing themselves to deliver these lyrics that they normally don't showcase in this way and the manner, and just coming in, and then it's just a magical moment, man. It's a magical moment.
And we have a video on the last song, which we'll have linked up here too for you to check out, because we break that one down, talk about who we think have the best verse. But yeah, man, and then that was another thing too, like the grand finale, the last song that they had at the end of the album. It's a shame we didn't get more of those, but definitely happy we got what we got.
Yeah, it's a shame, but thankfully we have this. And Livin Like Hustlers, man, if you guys don't have it, please be sure to listen to it. Like Amir was saying, Above the Law is phenomenal group, and thankfully they've left us with a lot of great music. Now, you guys got my 3 picks and Amir's 3 picks. Be sure to hit us up in the comment section, like, subscribe, to share to both Unique Access Entertainment and Rappin' and Snackin', and hit us up in the comments, and we'll be sure to hit you back. I'm Soren Baker.
Amir Rahimi.
The Great Debaters, y'all. Livin Like Hustlers.
Be sure to check out The History of Gangster Rap by Soren Baker. He's official.
History of Gangster Rap features exclusive interviews with Ice-T, Snoop Dogg, MC Ren, the DOC, and dozens of others. The History of Gangster Rap, a definitive look at how Los Angeles changed rap forever.
In Los Angeles, the streets definitely set the tone of the hip-hop music.
At 19, I got a $50,000 car.
My whole angle always was, I'll be street, but I will always tell you the horrors that go along with this life.
It will be penalties and casualties for just wearing the wrong color in somebody's neighborhood.
And once gangster rap made it from the streets to the TV, the genre exploded.
With Fab 5 on Yo MTV Raps with NWA.
Yo MTV, it just catapulted us from being local heroes to national gangbang rappers.
The History of Gangster Rap discusses it all from 1980 up till today.
It's always gonna be shit happening in the streets. You know what I mean? So it's always gonna be something to talk about.
The History of Gangster Rap in stores now.